I keep my back against the concrete wall and listen for a full minute before I move again. The corridor smells clean in a way I have not smelled since the first week of the outbreak. No smoke, no rot, no old cooking oil, just filtered air and sealed paint and cold floor. The kind of place that makes you forget, for half a second, that outside is still broken. My headlamp catches a strip of stainless steel set into the wall at waist height. It is not decoration. It is a guide rail, the kind used in facilities where people are expected to bump into things while wearing gloves or carrying heavy crates. That detail matters. It means this place was built to be used under stress, not just photographed for a brochure. I shift my pack higher and take 3 quiet steps forward. My boots land soft on rubber flooring. Even that is a clue. Rubber flooring is easy to clean, easy to replace in sections, good for sound control. Whoever built this wanted foot traffic to stay quiet, either for comfort or because panic gets louder fast. Behind me, through 2 doors and a long entry tunnel, the world is still there. I can still picture it without turning around. Snowmelt puddles in the cracked access road, a collapsed fence line, a stand of pines that hides the hillside cut. The old service building with a fake electrical sign bolted on the front, so it looks boring from a distance. If you never got close, you would never know there is a real facility under your feet. I found it because a man died with a paper map folded in his jacket. I did not know him. I found him face down in a ditch near the highway, one hand still clenched around a bottle of water that was already empty. His skin was gray from cold and time. There was no bite mark on his neck, no dramatic story on his body, just exhaustion that finally won. I took his map because the world does not forgive sentiment. The map had 3 things marked in pencil. 2 were dead ends. One was this, a rectangle drawn too neatly, with the words "Lockdown Complex" written under it in block letters. Then a second note, "One way in." Under that, smaller, "Do not trip final." I told myself it was a prepper fantasy. I told myself it was another bunker rumor. I still came anyway, because hunger makes every rumor worth checking, and winter makes you gamble. The entry fooled me at first. A basic cinder block building with an old transformer yard behind it. Dead weeds, a sagging chain-link gate, a no trespassing sign that looked sun-faded and bored. I had seen hundreds of sites like it. I only noticed the difference when I walked behind the building and saw the ground dip too cleanly, the soil packed hard in a shape that did not happen by accident. Under a mat of dead leaves, there was a steel hatch with a recessed handle. Not a sewer cover, not a storm drain, something heavier, something with a rubber gasket that still looked new. I tried the handle and nothing moved. I checked for a padlock and found none. I found a keypad plate, flush with the metal, no brand name. Above it, a small camera lens, dark and unreadable. I stood there in the cold, staring at it, and I almost left. Not because I lost interest, but because anything that still has power in this world has rules. Rules usually cost blood. I remembered the dead man's note. One way in. I hated how simple it sounded. I hated that he wrote it like a warning that had already failed. I did not have a code. I did not have a key card. I had a multi-tool, a small pry bar, and a cheap handheld radio that rarely finds anyone alive anymore. I also had another thing. I used to install security systems for commercial buildings. I know what people forget. People forget that hardware needs maintenance. People forget that emergency access exists because even the most stubborn planner knows fire can trap you. I found the emergency access after 10 minutes of searching around the hatch edge. A hidden seam, a tiny notch, a panel that sat slightly proud on one side. I slid the tip of my tool in and popped it open. Inside, a simple mechanical key slot with a numbered tag tied to it. The tag blank. No key, of course, but the slot meant there was a cylinder. Cylinders can be picked if you have time and patience. Picking it felt wrong. Not morally, practically. I kept expecting an alarm, a siren, something that would turn the whole hillside into a beacon. Nothing happened. The cylinder turned with a quiet click. The hatch unlocked with a pressure release sound, a soft breath of trapped air. The first ladder down was clean. It smelled of metal and cold. No mold, no old urine, no scratches from desperate hands. I went down slowly, stopping every few rungs to listen. I did not hear movement. I did not hear water dripping. I did not hear voices. I heard the faint hum of electricity somewhere deeper. At the bottom, an airlock door waited. Thick, gray, rounded edges with a wheel handle. Not a decorative vault door, an industrial seal. Next to it, another keypad and a small panel with a single green light. The green light mattered more than the door. It meant the system was alive. I pressed my ear against the door and listened again. I heard a steady fan. I heard nothing else. I turned the wheel. The mechanism resisted for a second, then yielded. The door swung inward a few inches, then stopped. A latch held it at a narrow gap. A voice came out of a speaker I did not see at first. Calm, flat, human, but not present. Recorded. Entry cycle initiated. Step into vestibule. Stand clear of inner seal. Do not exit until cycle completes. My first instinct was to back away. A system that talks to you can also decide for you. I looked up the ladder behind me. I could still leave. I could still pretend I never found this. Then wind moved through the hatch above and I heard it. Outside, faint but real. A thin chorus of distant noises that only mean one thing now. A roaming pack, somewhere near the road, making the kind of sounds that carry when the air is cold. Not close yet. Close enough soon. I stepped into the vestibule and pulled the door shut behind me. The latch clicked. The space was barely big enough for me and my pack. A light turned on overhead, bright and clinical. A vent opened and pushed air down from above. It smelled sharp, clean, maybe chemical. The outer door wheel refused to turn when I tested it. It was not locked by a bolt. It was locked by pressure, by a seal, by system control. A small screen on the wall showed a countdown that started at 5 minutes. Under it, a line of text. Decon and pressure balance. I stood still because I did not trust anything else. The vent hissed. A fine mist hit my jacket. Not soaking, more a fog. Cold on my cheeks. I kept my eyes open and watched the floor drain swallow the runoff. Halfway through the countdown, a second door on the opposite side unlocked with a dull clunk. The inner door had its own wheel handle. A second speaker clicked. Proceed. Do not return to outer seal. The words hit me harder than they should have. Not because I believed the system cared about my life, because the system was stating a rule that did not require my agreement. I grabbed the inner wheel and turned it. The door opened inward without much effort, and warm air rolled out. Not warm in a cozy way, warm in an engineered way, controlled, steady. The smell was still clean, but now it had something else under it. Dry food. Plastic. A faint hint of lubricant from machines that run every day. I stepped through. The door shut behind me on its own, slow and heavy. and the wheel spun back into a locked position without my hands on it. I put my palm on the metal and felt a subtle vibration. Motors, actuators. The place was thinking. The corridor I am in now branches left and right. Overhead signs are printed in black on white plates, simple and readable. Intake. Quarantine. Operations. Residential. No decoration. No corporate logo. Whoever paid for this did not need to advertise it. I choose operations because I need control before comfort. Comfort can wait. Control cannot. I move with my headlamp off now because the ceiling lights are on, and I do not want the extra glare. My hands keep brushing the wall rail without meaning to. The habit feels childish, but it grounds me. The first door I reach has a glass panel with wire mesh embedded inside. The glass is thick, the mesh is tight, the kind of glass that does not shatter into big pieces. I see an empty room beyond with lockers along one wall and a bench bolted to the floor. A printed sign on the door reads, "Remove outer layers, store or dispose. Do not bring contamination past this point." I do not see a trash can. I see a metal chute with a sealed flap. I push it open and feel suction, air moving inward. Negative pressure. That chute leads to an incinerator or a sealed waste system. This place assumes contamination is normal. My mouth goes dry, and I swallow, not from panic, from math. Systems that run negative pressure need power. Filters need replacement. Incinerators need fuel. Everything here has a cost that will eventually land on the person standing inside. I walk past the intake room for now. I need to know what the doors do first. I follow the corridor into operations, and it opens into a control hub that makes my steps slow down without me choosing it. There is a glass wall, floor to ceiling, looking into a room full of racks and panels. Batteries, inverters, a generator control cabinet, pipes with labels, a pump manifold. Every pipe is tagged. Every cable tray is neat. It looks recent, not decades old. In front of the glass wall, a desk runs the width of the room with 3 monitors mounted on an arm. A keypad panel, a card reader, a small fingerprint plate. On the desk, a binder in a sealed plastic sleeve with a bold title, "Lockdown Operations and Ration Control." I reach for the binder, then stop and look around for cameras. I find them in corners, domes with dark lenses. They are pointed at the desk, the doors, the room. I wave once, slow, stupid, reflexive. No response, no voice, no warning. The monitors are on. One shows a facility map, color-coded zones. Green areas, yellow areas, red areas. Most of the map is green. One zone near the entry tunnel shows yellow and blinking. The label reads, "Intake vestibule, cycle complete, outer seal locked." I tap the label with a finger that feels clumsy. The screen responds. A small window opens with options. Open outer seal is grayed out. Under it, a line, "External access revoked, permanent lockdown active." I stare at that line long enough that my eyes start to ache. I click on Lockdown Status. A new window fills the monitor. It reads, in plain language, "Final mode engaged. Reopen protocol requires 2 external admin keys. Internal override disabled." I look down at my hands. Dirty nails, scrapes from climbing fences, a healing burn from a camp stove accident. No keys, no admin anything. Just a man who stepped into a machine that assumes the world ended and wants to keep it outside forever. I try anyway. I click on system settings. I click on door control. I click on emergency. Each time the screen asks for credentials. I have none. I try admin. I try password. I try the kind of default codes that lazy contractors use. Each attempt adds a line to a log window on the side. Failed auth. Failed auth. Failed auth. After the fifth attempt, the speaker I did not notice in this room clicks on. Unauthorized access attempts detected. Occupant must register. Proceed to registration. A new arrow appears on the map, flashing, pointing toward residential. Another note appears. Rations locked until occupant profile created. That hits me in a different place than the locked door. I can survive outside with scavenged food and dirty water for a while. Inside this complex, food can sit 10 feet away behind a system that thinks discipline is life. I take the binder anyway. The plastic sleeve is sealed with a tear strip. I rip it open. The binder pages are laminated, printed clean with tabs. The first page has a short welcome line that does not feel welcoming. This complex operates under permanent lockdown assumptions. Operational errors compound. Follow procedures. I flip forward and find what I need in 2 minutes. A section titled Guest Entry. It says a guest can create a temporary profile using biometric input, but the profile will be limited and will expire. It also says the system will restrict access until an internal audit is complete. There is a phrase that keeps repeating in the binder. Non-compliance triggers containment. Not punishment. Containment. That is a different mindset. This is not a house with locks. This is a facility that expects internal threats. I leave operations and walk fast toward residential, because the binders do not matter if I cannot drink or eat. The corridor lighting changes slightly, softer, less sterile. Walls switch from plain concrete to painted panels. The air temperature rises a bit. Whoever designed this wanted a psychological boundary between work and living. Residential is a wing of small rooms, each with a door that has a simple handle, not a wheel. That tells me these are not pressure barriers, they are privacy doors. I pass a common room with a couch, a table, shelves with board games still in plastic wrap. I keep moving. At the end of the wing, I find registration, a booth with a glass partition and a chair bolted to the floor, facing a camera and a small screen. A sign reads, "Sit, follow prompts, do not leave mid-cycle." I sit. The chair is cold through my jacket. The screen wakes up with a bright white background and simple text. "Welcome, identify occupant." It asks for a name. I type Ethan Marrow. That is not my real name. It is the name on a fake badge I once wore for a job site that needed visitors to look official. The system does not care if it is true. The system cares if it is consistent. It asks for date of birth. I hesitate, then enter a real one. It asks for biometric. I press my finger on the plate. It scans. It asks me to look at the camera. I stare straight at it, holding still. A small ring on the screen fills in green. A message appears. Occupant profile created. Limited access granted. Ration mode active. Audit pending. Then another message. Final mode confirmation. Occupant must acknowledge. External doors will not open from inside. Press accept. My hands hover. I already saw the status screen. I already heard the speaker. The system still wants my finger to press a button because that is how liability works in a world that used to have courts. I press accept because refusing does not open the door. Refusing only locks me out of food. The screen chimes once and goes dark. On the wall next to the booth, a small cabinet unlocks with a click. Inside, a wristband, sealed in plastic, with a simple black chip embedded. I tear it open and strap it on. It feels ridiculous. It also feels necessary. I walk back toward the common room. A small panel by the door flashes when I pass. The door unlocks with a soft clunk. The system is watching my wrist, tracking where I go. The thought makes my shoulders tighten, and I force myself to loosen them. If I fight the feeling, I will waste energy. The pantry is behind another door labeled Nutrition. The door has no handle. It has a reader panel. I tap my wristband against it, half expecting rejection. The panel glows green, and the door slides open 2 inches, then stops. A screen on the wall lights up. Daily allotment available, select items, door closes in 2 minutes. Inside, shelves line the room, stocked in a way that looks curated. Not random canned food. It is packaged meals with printed labels and barcodes, powdered staples, medical-grade electrolyte packets, vacuum-sealed rice, protein bars, the boring kind that taste of chalk and sweetener. I take what my hands reach for first. 2 water bottles, a pack of dried meals, a tin of something labeled stew base. I scan each item at a small reader near the door because the screen says I must. Every scan ticks down a number on the screen. Calorie balance, sodium balance, water balance. The system is not guessing. It is controlling. It is built for people who believed humans would ruin themselves with small indulgences if left unchecked. I keep the selections practical. No candy, no coffee. The coffee shelf exists, but it is behind a locked gate inside the pantry. I do not even have the option. I take a vitamin bottle instead because I know scurvy is real and pride is stupid. The door starts to beep at 90 seconds. I step out with my haul and the door seals shut behind me. On the screen, a final line appears. Waste penalty active. Discarding unconsumed rations reduces future allotment. I stand there holding food in both hands, and a laugh almost comes out. Not joy, just disbelief. Outside, I fought for scraps. Inside, I am being warned not to waste. Different world, same lesson. I carry the food to the common room and set it on the table. The couch is clean, covered in a protective fabric. The room has a television mounted on the wall, dark and useless. A bookshelf holds paper manuals and novels, probably chosen by someone who thought boredom would be the worst threat down here. I eat standing up, slow, chewing carefully, listening between bites. I do not hear voices. I do not hear footsteps. The complex feels empty in a way that is almost loud. If someone lived here before me, he is gone now. If someone still lives here, he is hiding or locked behind a zone I cannot open. After eating, I do not sit and rest. Rest is how mistakes get you. I take my pack back and move to operations again, because I need to understand power and water before I sleep. In operations, the screens now show my name in the corner. Occupant, Ethan Marrow. Under it, access limited. A prompt blinks. Complete initial walkdown. The binder tells me what a walkdown is. It is a guided inspection. The system wants me to confirm that life support is intact. If I skip it, the system assumes I am not reliable and restricts more access. It treats humans as variables, not masters. The map highlights the water plant first. I follow arrows through a service corridor and reach a room filled with tanks and pipes. A soft blue light glows on panels. The sound of moving water is steady. Labels on the tanks read potable reserve, gray recycle, fire suppression. A screen on the wall tells me to test a faucet. I turn a small valve at a sink. Water flows clear. I fill a cup, smell it, drink a small sip. It tastes flat, clean, slightly metallic. Better than any creek water I have had in months. I press confirm on the wall screen. Next is air handling. A door opens into a room that roars softly with fans. Filter racks line one wall, each filter labeled with a date range. There is a spare stack in plastic wrap, but not endless. A laminated card on a hook says, "Filters are life. Track changeouts." I shine my headlamp into the intake duct viewing window. The mesh is clean. A UV light glows behind a shield. There is a faint smell of ozone. I press confirm again, and the system logs it. Power is last, and it matters most. I enter the generator room and feel heat right away. The generator is mid-sized, painted gray, mounted on vibration isolators. Fuel lines run to a bank of tanks behind a caged barrier. The barrier is locked with an electronic latch. I can see the fuel gauge through the cage. It is not full. It is maybe a little over half. That is enough to keep you alive for a long time if you are careful, and not nearly enough if you get lazy. A battery bank sits nearby. Rows of sealed units with status lights. The monitor shows a schedule. Generator runs in cycles, not constant. Battery carries the load part of the day. The system decides the balance. I can request changes, but I cannot override without higher access. I walk around the generator, checking for leaks, checking belt tension, checking the oil sight glass. Everything looks maintained. That is another clue. Someone serviced this recently, or the complex ran automated maintenance routines that kept it ready. Either way, it is not an ancient, forgotten bunker. It is a machine built for the current world. Back in operations, the final walkdown prompt clears. A new message appears. Audit in progress. Remain in green zones. Red zones sealed. I click the red zone list. Most are labeled Storage 2, Medical 2, Admin Suite, and one that catches my eye, External Observation. Observation means cameras. It means I might see outside without opening a door. I need that. I click it, but it requests higher access. The system refuses. Admin required. I sit down in the operations chair for the first time and let the frustration settle into something I can use. This place is safe in one direction. It is also a trap in another. It was built by someone who believed the worst part of the apocalypse would be other humans, including the ones inside. I think about the dead man with the map. He got close enough to warn himself. He still died outside. Maybe he never found the hatch. Maybe he found it and refused to step in. Maybe he stepped in and stepped out again before the lock engaged. I will never know. I only know I am here now. I decide to claim a sleeping room before fatigue makes me careless. I pick a small room with a single bed, a desk, and a closet. The sheets are sealed in plastic. I open the plastic and make the bed. I set my pack under the desk. I set my weapon within reach. It is a simple tool, not something heroic. A sturdy hammer with a short handle. Quiet, reliable. Before I lie down, I do one more thing. I go back to the common room and find the manual shelf. I pull out a thinner booklet titled Permanent Lockdown Philosophy. The fact that this exists tells me the builders thought psychology needed rules too. I read standing up. The booklet says routines prevent mistakes. It says rationing prevents conflict. It says external contact creates risk. It says the best outcome is survival, not comfort, not freedom. It reads cold, but it reads honest. It feels written by someone who saw people fall apart during smaller crises and decided to remove choice before choice became a fight. I sleep light, waking every time a fan shifts speed or a distant relay clicks. Not from fear of zombies inside, but from fear of doing something dumb in a place where dumb mistakes can lock you out of oxygen or water. When morning comes, if morning can exist underground, the lights in my room brighten slightly, and a soft chime plays through a speaker. Occupant schedule begins. Report to operations for daily briefing. The voice is still recorded. It does not care if I slept. It does not care if I want to be alone. It expects compliance. In operations, the monitor shows a checklist: water usage, power status, waste cycle, nutrition allotment, exercise requirement. Yes, exercise requirement. The system tracks movement through my wristband and wants a minimum activity level. Not because it cares about my fitness goals, but because muscle loss becomes medical load, and medical load burns supplies. There is a treadmill in a small gym room off the residential wing. There are also resistance bands, weights, a bike. It looks untouched. I do not get to be proud. I use the bike for 20 minutes because it is quiet and steady. A sensor on the bike logs my effort. A small wall panel turns green when I hit the target. After that, I do a facility sweep, checking doors, checking vents, checking drains. I find no signs of other occupants. No dishes in sinks, no clothing in lockers, no personal items anywhere. The place was stocked and ready, then abandoned, then resealed, then waited. It waited for a person desperate enough to accept the terms. In the afternoon, the first real test arrives without drama. A muffled vibration runs through the floor. It is subtle enough that I question it at first. Then it repeats, heavier, rhythmic. The monitor in operations flashes an alert. External impact detected. Outer seal holding. My hands move before my thoughts finish. I run to the intake corridor, stopping at the last inner door and pressing my ear against it. I hear noise through layers of metal and concrete. Not clear words, but human volume. Then a sharper sound. Metal on metal. Someone outside is hitting the outer hatch or the service building above it. The speaker near the door clicks. Do not approach outer seal. External communication disabled in final mode. I back away anyway, because the door could become a failure point if someone breaches it, and I do not want to be standing there. I sprint back to operations and look for camera feeds. The screen shows nothing, only the map and status. External observation is still sealed behind admin access. The impacts continue for a minute, then stop. Then I hear something else through the structure, a sound that makes my jaw clench. A chorus, not articulate, not human. The infected are drawn to noise. Whoever is outside brought attention, and attention drags more attention. I stand in the center of operations with my hammer in hand, staring at a map that refuses to show me the world. I feel blind. The system keeps me alive and keeps me ignorant at the same time. An alert pops up. Outer tunnel pressure shift. Containment protocol engaged. Another line follows. Sacrifice zone available. Confirm? I flip through the binder until I find Sacrifice Zone. It is exactly what it sounds like. The entry tunnel can be isolated and vented to protect the inner complex. The cost is losing anything stored in that zone and permanently sealing access between the outer and inner sections. It is the complex making a decision it was built to make. The screen asks for a confirmation button press. It gives me 10 seconds. It does not ask my opinion on morality. It asks if I want to stay alive. I press confirm. A deep thud runs through the floor. A hiss follows, loud enough to hear through the walls. The map shows the intake tunnel turning red, then gray, labeled sealed permanent. The impacts stop. The muffled noise fades. For a moment, the complex is quiet again. My throat feels tight, not from emotion, from the knowledge that I just made a choice that cannot be undone. The dead man wrote, "Do not trip final." I just tripped something close to final. I spend the next hour doing checks, because there is no point staring at the sealed door. Air pressure holds. No contamination alerts. The waste cycle runs. Water stays steady. The system logs my responses and stays calm. It treats the outside attack as a routine hazard it was built to absorb. Later, when I go to nutrition for my next allotment, the screen shows a penalty. Security event, extra power draw, ration adjustment. My allotment drops slightly. Not enough to starve, but enough to remind me that every external event has internal cost. On the third day, the system grants me a little more access. A message appears in Operations. Audit complete. Occupant behavior within parameters. Access level standard. Standard is still not admin. It is enough to open Storage 2 and Medical 2, but still not enough for external observation or admin suite. I feel the urge to celebrate. Then I crush it. Access is not comfort. Access is responsibility. Storage 2 holds spare parts. Filters, belts, pump seals, boxes of gloves, rolls of gasket material. It also holds tools that make me stop and stare. Torque wrenches, pipe cutters, a sealed kit labeled breach repair. Whoever built this expected damage. Whoever built this knew people would try to get in. Medical 2 is a small clinic with supplies organized by type and date. Antibiotics, bandages, sterile kits, a dental kit that looks frightening in a quiet way. I do not touch most of it. I inventory it with my eyes and leave it intact. Every opened package becomes a commitment. In a cabinet in Medical 2, I find a slim folder with a printed label. Incident reports. That word makes my fingers slow down. Not maintenance logs. Not inventory. Incident reports mean something happened here. I open the folder and find 3 reports. Short, clinical, no drama. The first is about a contractor injury during construction, not relevant now. The second is about a power fluctuation during commissioning. The third is dated closer to the outbreak time frame, and it is the one that changes the way I breathe, even though I do not talk about breathing. It reads, unauthorized entry attempt. 2 individuals denied. 1 individual entered vestibule during open cycle, final mode engaged. Individual failed registration. Rations locked. Individual deceased in intake. I lower the paper and stare at the wall. Someone did what I did, but failed 1 step later. He got stuck in the entry zone and died behind sealed doors, probably within shouting distance of food and water, probably banging and begging at a system that does not respond to begging. I walk back to the intake corridor and stand at the last sealed barrier, the one that now separates me from the permanently sealed intake zone. I cannot open it. I do not want to open it. I still stand there for a minute, listening for any sound. There is none. The complex already made sure there would be none. That night, I do not sleep until I have a plan. I sit at the desk in my room and write on a legal pad I found in a supply drawer. Not a diary, procedures. If I make a mistake, there will be no second opinion to catch it. So I write checklists in plain language, the kind I used on job sites. On day 5, I finally get what I need most: external observation. The system does not volunteer it. I earn it by completing more tasks. It gives me access in small steps, the way a trainer gives a dog more leash. The door to external observation opens into a small room with a bank of monitors and a hard chair. The monitors show camera feeds from the service building, the hatch area, the hillside, and a wider shot of the access road. The feed is color, crisp, with a timestamp in the corner. The outside looks harsh and bright. Snow patches, gray sky, wind moving branches. Then the cameras catch movement, and my fingers grip the chair edge without me choosing it. There are infected on the road, not a massive herd, a loose cluster, 6, maybe 8, wandering near the fence line, stopping and turning their heads in the random way they do when sound drifts. Their clothes hang wrong, their posture is wrong. Their faces are not theatrical monsters. Their faces are ruined by neglect and infection. And that is enough. Near the service building door, I see something worse. 2 human figures, alive. 1 man and 1 woman, both with packs, both moving careful. The man points at the building. The woman crouches near the hatch area, sweeping debris away with gloved hands. They found it. Maybe from the same rumor. Maybe from the dead man's map if someone else took it from his body before I did. I lean close to the monitor and look for weapons. The man has a long tool in his hands, maybe a crowbar, maybe a rifle with a sling. The woman holds a small hatchet. They move practiced, not desperate amateurs. That scares me more than the infected do. I look for a microphone button. There is none. The system does not allow external communication in final mode. The binder warned me. It still feels unreal to watch living humans outside and have no way to speak to them. The woman finds the hatch seam. I see her body shift when it does not open. She tries again. The man joins her. They work the edges, trying to pry. The hatch does not move. I picked the emergency cylinder. They do not know that. They will keep trying until they make noise, and noise will bring the infected. I watch the road feed. 1 infected turns its head toward the service building, then starts walking in that direction. Another follows. The cluster begins to drift. Not fast, but steady. I move without thinking, leaving the observation room, running to operations, and searching for any option. Door control, external lights, sirens, anything to divert the infected away from those 2 people. The screen refuses most of it. Final mode restrictions. Then I see one option that is not grayed out. External deterrence, perimeter audio, limited. My hand hesitates over it. Audio will draw infected. It will also control where they go if placed right. The system gives me a map overlay with speaker locations around the hillside. I pick one far from the hatch area, near a drainage ditch that drops into thicker brush. I set the audio to play for 30 seconds. The deterrent sound is not a siren. It is a low, pulsing tone designed to be unpleasant. The camera feed shows the infected on the road turn and drift toward it. Not all of them, but enough. The man outside freezes, listening. The woman looks up, scanning. They do not leave. They double their effort. They think the sound means power. They think power means hope. I feel something sour behind my teeth, and I force myself to keep working. Feelings do not change physics. I trigger the deterrence again, longer, and shift it even farther. The infected drift away in a loose line. The couple stays. The woman finally pulls a small pouch from her pack and shakes something out. The movement is careful, not loud, not hurried. Then she places what looks like a small charge at the hatch seam. My mouth opens without sound. Not because I want to scream, because my brain does not accept it at first. A charge means they are not just travelers. A charge means raiders, or ex-military, or someone who planned. I back away from the monitors and run again, searching the binder, flipping pages until I find breach response. It says if an external breach is detected, the system will seal and flood the entry tunnel with foam, then vent the outer area. It will not open inward. It will protect the core. That helps me. It also means those two people outside will die if they get through the hatch and trigger the cycle. The system will treat them as contamination. The charge goes off outside with a flash on the camera feed and a dull thump that reaches me through the mountain. Dust rises around the hatch. The outer seal does not pop open. It holds. The woman steps back, shaking her hand, then leans in again. The man swears, but I cannot hear words through the cameras. I only see his mouth move. The infected that drifted away begin to return, drawn by the blast sound. One breaks into a faster stagger. Another follows. The couple turns and notices. The man raises his long tool and steps forward. The woman backs toward the building door. I do not watch the rest in detail. I cannot help them directly. I trigger deterrence in a different direction and keep it running longer, trying to pull the infected away. It works on two of them. The others keep closing. The man swings his tool. One infected drops. The second keeps coming. The woman swings her hatchet, aiming for the head. I look away because watching does not help. I focus on the system screen, waiting for breach alerts. None appear. The hatch holds. The complex stays sealed. When I look back at the camera feed, the service building area is empty. No living couple. No obvious bodies in view either. But the angle is limited. The road feed shows 3 infected wandering away again. One drags a foot. Another has a torn sleeve flapping. There is no clean resolution outside. Only movement and disappearance. I sit in the observation chair and stare at the screen until my eyes burn. I do not speak aloud. The room does not need my commentary. I only feel the weight of a place that was designed to keep me alive by refusing me the ability to do anything decent. After that day, I stopped thinking of the complex as a refuge. I start thinking of it as a contract. It provides air, water, calories, and structure. In return, it demands that I accept isolation and accept that other people are outside problems, not inside responsibilities. I spend the next week learning every system I can access. I map pipes. I label breaker panels with my own notes even though they are already labeled, because my notes reflect what matters to me. I learn where the spare filter packs sit. I learn how the waste system cycles and when it draws the most power. I learn the sound difference between the generator running under load and the generator idling. I also learn the ration system is not fair. It is optimized. If I do heavy maintenance work, it increases my calories slightly the next day. If I do nothing, it drops them. If I waste water, it penalizes me. If I shower too long, it logs it and makes a note. The binder calls this behavior shaping. I call it being supervised by a dead designer. On day 12, the first mechanical failure hits. It is small, and it still threatens everything. A pump in the gray water loop starts making a squeal. High pitch, rhythmic, bearings. If the pump seizes, the waste system backs up, and the complex will go into containment mode to prevent contamination. Containment mode can mean sealed toilets, sealed sinks, reduced access. It can also mean a forced sanitation cycle that burns water and power. I pull the pump manual from storage 2 and get to work. I shut valves upstream and downstream. I isolate the pump. I lay out tools on a clean cloth and keep my motions slow because dropping a bolt into a drain would be the kind of mistake that ruins a day. The pump housing opens with 6 bolts. The bearing inside is worn, not destroyed. I find a spare bearing in the parts bin, sealed and labeled. I swap it carefully, grease it, reseat the shaft, torque the bolts. I restore flow. The squeal is gone. The system logs maintenance complete without praise. I wash my hands at the sink and stare at the water running for a second longer than I need to. I turn it off fast because the system watches. I hate that I am learning to behave for a machine. I also know the machine keeps me alive. A month passes in a chain of tasks. I do not mark it with calendar days. I mark it by filter changeouts and battery health checks. The outside becomes a set of camera images. Snow melts, mud appears, the infected wander in and out of view. Sometimes the access road is empty for days. Sometimes a small group shuffles through and disappears. Humans appear twice more. Once, a lone man with a backpack who tries the service building door and leaves fast when he hears infected in the trees. Once, a group of 3 that argues in the open, waving arms, then splits up, 1 leaving, 2 staying near the hatch until night. I trigger deterrence sounds to push infected away, but I do not have a way to warn humans. The complex refuses me that. The guilt does not come in dramatic waves. It comes in small, constant irritation that never leaves. It shows up when I eat a meal and remember someone outside would have killed for it. It shows up when I take clean water and think about the creek water I drank before. It shows up when I see a human figure on the camera and know the hatch is a sealed promise I cannot break. One evening, the system gives me an unexpected alert. Admin suite access granted. Condition: complete admin walkdown. That is not generosity. That is the complex deciding I have been here long enough that I might be the only person left who can keep it functioning. It is transferring responsibility in the only way it knows. Admin suite is behind a door with a reader and a keypad, both. My wristband opens it now. Inside, the air feels slightly warmer. The carpet is thicker. The furniture looks expensive in a sterile way. A desk with a locked drawer, a safe built into the wall, a private bathroom. Someone expected to live here with comfort while the rest of the world burned. On the desk sits a small black box with a hinged lid. I open it and find 2 metal keys with unusual heads, each engraved with a serial number. Under them, a laminated card reads, "External admin keys, do not store together." I hold one key between my fingers and feel the weight of it. External admin keys, the same phrase the system used in the reopening protocol. 2 keys required, 2 keys. I take both keys anyway because leaving one behind is pointless when I'm alone. I try the safe, but it needs a code. The desk drawer is locked too. I search the suite for notes and find a small notebook in the bedside table. The first page has a name written neat. Martin Hale. Under it, a line. If you are reading this, the rules worked. The notebook is not a confession. It is a manual written in human voice. Martin describes how he funded the complex, how he demanded permanent lockdown because he did not trust community, how he set ration algorithms to prevent soft decay. He describes external admin keys stored off-site, one with his lawyer, one with a security chief. He describes the final mode trigger, designed to activate when outbreak indicators hit a threshold. Then he describes something that makes my stomach feel hollow. He was not planning to live here alone. He was planning to bring his family. He was planning to bring staff. He was planning to reopen in controlled phases once the world stabilized. Permanent lockdown was not permanent forever. It was permanent until a specific external protocol was followed by specific people. Those people are dead now, or gone, or turned into something that does not care about keys. And I am holding two keys that the system calls external, but I am inside. I find a section in the notebook where Martin admits he built a fail-deadly decision into the place. If the complex detects a breach risk that reaches a certain level, it will seal core zones and vent perimeter zones, even if that means killing people in the wrong place at the wrong time. He writes that it is better to lose a few than lose the whole. He writes it without shame. I close the notebook and sit on the edge of the bed in the admin suite, keys in my palm, and I feel my jaw muscles working because I am grinding my teeth without noticing. I stop it. I breathe slow through my nose and stand up. Anger does not fix systems. Understanding does. I go back to operations with the keys and search for any panel that accepts them. I find a small metal cover under the main console secured with 2 screws. I remove it and reveal 2 key slots, external admin keys. Both must turn at the same time. That is the rule. No single person should override the system. Martin built that into the hardware. I insert both keys and try to turn them one at a time. The slots resist. I try turning both with both hands, awkward, and feel them move slightly. The console beeps. A message appears. Dual key present. External confirmation required. External confirmation. Not a code, not a fingerprint. Something physical outside the complex. A switch, a lock, a second console, maybe in the service building. Martin did not trust anyone inside to reopen. He wanted the decision to come from outside, from the world he imagined surviving. I sit back and laugh once, quiet, sharp. It is not funny. It is the only sound my body produces when it realizes there is no clever workaround. I can hold the keys. I can turn them. The system still says no. 2 days after that discovery, the outside forces my hand again. It starts with a flicker on the camera feed. The hillside view jitters, then stabilizes. The generator hum shifts pitch slightly. A warning appears on the screen. Power quality event. Source. External. External power? There should not be external power. This place runs off fuel and batteries. The only external connection would be a grid tie, and the grid is dead. I check the electrical diagram in the binder. There is an external feed line, but it is meant for commissioning and maintenance, not for daily use. It should be isolated. It should be dead. Then the camera feed shows the answer. A vehicle on the access road. Not a car, a heavy truck with a trailer. The kind of rig someone uses to haul equipment. It stops near the service building. 2 men get out, moving fast. One carries a coil of cable. The other carries a toolbox. These are not lost hikers. These are not hungry scavengers. These are operators. They came with purpose. They came with gear. They came with enough confidence to bring a loud truck into an area where infected roam. I watch them open the service building door with a key. My skin prickles at that detail. A key means they have access. A key means Martin's off-site security network did not die completely. Or it means the world produced new people who learned how to break into old places. The power quality warning increases. External feed detected. Isolation relay failure risk. If they connect a generator outside to the service building, they might backfeed into the complex in a way that trips protections. It could damage inverters. It could fry control boards. It could force a shutdown. This place is a machine with delicate parts hidden behind thick doors. I search the control screen for isolation relay. I find a manual override option now unlocked by admin access. It lets me physically isolate the external feed line, cutting it entirely. If I do it, the outside men cannot affect my power. If I do it, I also remove one possible path to reopening, because external confirmation might rely on that connection. I watch the men on camera. One pulls a portable generator off the trailer. The other runs cable into the service building. Their faces are tense, focused. They work in a practiced rhythm. I make a decision that feels cold, and I accept that. I isolate the external feed line. The relay clunks somewhere deep. The power quality warning clears. The camera feed stabilizes fully. The complex returns to its own steady hum. Outside, the men pause. One points at the building, confused. He checks the generator. He checks the cable. He bangs on the service building wall in frustration. The other man moves toward the hatch area with a crowbar. I do not have sympathy left for confident people who arrive with trucks and tools. Confident people do not come to share. They come to take. The man pries at the hatch. He does not know about the cylinder I picked. He does not know the hatch can hold against small charges. He only knows it hides something valuable. The infected show up on the road within minutes, drawn by the truck noise, the generator noise, the banging. The men see them and do not leave. They instead move with the kind of hard discipline I have only seen in groups that have done bad things together for a long time. One man pulls a rifle from the truck cab. The other keeps working the hatch, glancing up, trusting his partner to handle the threat. I trigger deterrence audio far from the hatch to pull some infected away. It works on a few. Others keep coming because the truck is loud and close. The man with the rifle fires. The sound is sharp even through the camera feed. Infected fall and keep moving until they do not. It is not graphic from this distance. It is still ugly. Then something happens that makes my hands go numb around the console edge. A third figure appears from the tree line behind them. A woman moving low, fast, using brush for cover. She has a bow slung over her shoulder and a pack tight to her back. She runs to the truck and reaches into the open trailer. The men do not see her at first. The woman pulls something out of the trailer, then another thing. Fuel cans, tools. She moves with the speed of someone stealing from thieves. Then the rifleman turns and spots her. He shouts, she runs. He raises the rifle. I do not want to watch a human get killed on my cameras. I also do not want thieves to win clean. I hit deterrence audio again, closer this time, placed between the rifleman and the woman's escape path. The pulsing tone blasts from a hidden speaker. Infected nearby turn toward it. then toward the cluster of sound and movement. The rifleman lowers his weapon, startled by the sudden shift. He fires at infected instead. The woman slips into the brush and disappears. The hatchman curses and steps back, distracted. The infected surge closer, drawn by the gunshots and the deterrence tone now too close. I turn the deterrence off fast, but the damage is done. The noise already pulled them in. The men scramble toward the truck, firing and swinging. One gets into the cab. The other runs around the front, trying to climb in. An infected grabs at the hatchman's jacket and jerks him back. He swings his crowbar and connects, then stumbles. The rifleman fires again, hitting the infected, then grabs his partner's arm and hauls him up. They get into the truck. The engine roars. The truck lurches forward, crushing something under the tires, then backs hard, then turns and barrels down the access road, dragging infected attention with it. The service building door is left open. The portable generator sits half-connected, cable trailing. A fuel can lies on its side near the trailer. The camera shows it all, abandoned in haste. I sit down and realize my hands are shaking. Not from fear of dying in that moment, from the knowledge that humans are still organized enough to find this place and greedy enough to keep coming. That night, I do not sleep. I walk the corridors and check doors. I check the seals on the sacrifice zone. I check the external feed isolation relay status 3 times. I go to storage 2 and pull out breach repair foam cartridges, studying the instructions, preparing for the day someone smarter arrives with heavier tools. In the admin suite, I find another item tucked behind a shelf panel. A small radio handset wired to a wall jack with a label, External Security Line. It is dead now, but the fact it exists tells me Martin did not plan to be totally silent. He planned controlled contact. I spend a week tracing the wiring path through schematics and service corridors, looking for breaks, looking for a way to power it without exposing the complex. I find the external antenna feed route, running up through the service building. That path is now compromised because outsiders opened the building and left it open. Anything connected to that could be a risk. I make another cold decision. I cut the antenna feed inside the complex, physically, and cap it. I would rather be silent than be found through a line I cannot control. Time becomes a routine again. Maintenance, rations, exercise, camera checks. The world outside keeps moving in small, ugly patterns. Infected drift. Humans appear rarely. The seasons shift slowly. The complex hum stays steady, and that steadiness becomes both comfort and prison. One day, months in, I notice something on the camera feed that makes me stop chewing mid-bite. On the road, near the bend where the pines thin out, there is a painted sign nailed to a post. It was not there before. The sign is new wood, bright against the gray. The message is written in thick black paint. Do not approach. Sealed. Watched. Someone put that sign there for a reason, either to warn others away or to claim territory. Either way, it means knowledge of this site is spreading. The complex will not stay hidden forever. I go to operations and pull up security settings. With admin access, I can change deterrence patterns. I can schedule perimeter audio automatically. I can trigger light flashes outside at night. I can even release a small amount of smoke from vents near the service building to make the area seem contaminated. The binder calls this psychological denial. I implement it all, carefully, measured. No constant noise that draws infected. No bright lights that turn the hillside into a beacon. just enough weirdness to make humans uneasy. A timed pulse tone near the ditch once a day. A smoke puff near the building every few nights. A light flicker inside the service building at random intervals. It feels wrong to become the ghost story. It also feels necessary. In this world, rumor is a weapon. I keep working. I keep surviving. I stop thinking about reopening, because reopening requires a world outside that can support it. The cameras do not show that world. The cameras show scavengers, raiders, infected, and empty roads. On an evening when the air outside looks heavy and wet, the power monitor shows a spike. Not external this time, internal. One of the battery units flashes an error. Cell imbalance. The system reduces load, shifting more runtime to the generator. That burns fuel. Fuel is the true clock in this place. I isolate the faulty battery string and run diagnostics. The unit is not dead, but it is degrading. It needs equalization. The manual says equalization burns time and heat. Heat increases ventilation load. Ventilation load burns power. Everything is connected. One mistake becomes a chain. That is the core truth of this complex. I do the equalization anyway because leaving it untreated risks a bigger failure later. I stay in the battery room for hours, monitoring temperature, checking voltage, logging readings on paper because I do not trust my own memory under fatigue. The system logs too, but I trust paper more. Paper does not reset. When the equalization completes, the unit stabilizes. The system gives me a message: fuel impact, moderate, ration adjustment, minor. It treats my work as a cost calculation. It does not thank me. It does not need to. I am still breathing clean air. That is the only reward the place offers. That night, I sit in the common room with Martin Hale's notebook open on the table. I read a section where he writes about his greatest fear. It is not zombies. It is not starvation. It is not being alone. It is losing control. He built this place to remove uncertainty. He built it to enforce decisions even when he was not present. He got what he wanted. The complex enforces decisions. It enforced them on him too, wherever he ended up. It enforces them on me now. I close the notebook and look around the common room. Board games still sealed. A shelf of novels untouched. A kitchen area with a locked cabinet that only opens during approved meal windows, so no one can binge eat at midnight. A sink that logs water usage. A shower that times itself. A treadmill that reports my compliance. I think about what permanent lockdown really means. It does not mean a door that never opens. It means a life where every choice is pre-shaped by a dead man's fear. It means survival at the cost of freedom every day in small ways that add up. I could try to break the system. I could smash panels, force doors, grab all the food, live wild inside until power fails and the air turns stale. That would be a tantrum, not a plan. A tantrum ends in a quiet death. So I do the harder thing. I adapt without pretending it is noble. I write my own procedures and tape them beside the system panels. I set my own rules for myself that match the reality here. No wasted water, no skipped maintenance, no chasing ghosts outside. I also prepare for the day a person gets inside again, because it can happen. A breach, a lucky pick of the cylinder, a stolen key, a damaged seal that fails. If someone gets into the vestibule, he will face the same problem I faced. Register or starve, learn the rules or die. I go to storage too and pull out a blank binder. I build my own manual. The first page is a warning written in thick marker. This place locks. The outer door will not open. Do not enter unless you accept that. I write the second page for a desperate person who might not have time for philosophy. Go to registration first. Get a wristband. Do not try to hack the console. It will lock food. I write the third page with the most important maintenance note. Listen for pump noises. Fix them fast. Waste failures become air failures. I keep writing until my hand cramps. Not because I want to be a hero, because I cannot stand the idea of someone dying in the intake zone again, while I sit in comfort and pretend I had no choice. I cannot open the door for him, but I can leave a map inside the machine. Weeks later, the cameras show fresh tracks in the mud near the service building. Someone came close and left. The sign on the road remains. My smoke puffs and light flickers continue. The hillside becomes a place people talk about and avoid. That buys me time. Time is fuel. Time is filters. Time is survival. One morning, the system gives me a prompt I have not seen before. Final seal option available. Permanent core isolation recommended. I pull up details. Final seal would close internal bulkheads, isolate residential and operations into a smaller footprint, reduce energy demands, and seal off non-essential wings permanently. It would also disable any remaining external interfaces, including the external feed line entirely, and lock the admin console into a simplified mode. It is the complex offering to become a smaller, tougher box. The cost is obvious. Less space. Less access to stored goods in sealed wings. Less flexibility. Also, no future reopening even if the world outside somehow gets better. This is the step that turns permanent until protocol into permanent forever. I do not press the button immediately. I spend 2 days walking every corridor, checking every storage area, moving essential items into the core zones the plan would keep. I move extra filters, spare parts, medical supplies, and the breach repair kits. I move books too, because mental collapse is still collapse, and this place knows it even if it talks in cold words. On the third day, the cameras show something that settles the decision. A group on the access road, 6 people carrying tools and packs, moving in a loose perimeter formation. Not casual, not lost. They stop near the sign and look at it, then point toward the service building. They came anyway. I watch them for a long minute and feel nothing soft. These are not hungry families. Their posture says readiness. Their spacing says training. Their leader gestures with a short chopping motion that means move. I go to operations, bring up final seal, and press confirm. The system asks for a second confirmation, then begins a countdown. Bulkhead doors begin to close deeper in the complex, with heavy thuds that roll through the floor. Vents reroute. Lights in non-essential corridors dim, then go dark. A final message appears. Core mode engaged. Outer access permanently disabled. Occupant responsibility. Maintain core. I sit in the chair and stare at the camera feed while the group reaches the service building. They try the door. It opens. They move inside. I cannot see the hatch from that angle, but I know what happens next. They find it. They test it. They attempt breach. The complex is quieter now. The hum is lower. The map is smaller. The feeling is tighter. I am in the heart of a machine that has accepted it will never open again. Outside on camera, the group works for hours. They bring out a heavier tool, maybe a drill, maybe a saw. They make noise. Infected drift in. The group fights them off with blunt efficiency. They keep working. They are persistent. Then, near dusk, a blast flash lights the camera for a split second, and the hillside dust jumps. The hatch holds. The group backs away, arguing, pointing. One man kicks the hatch cover in frustration. Another drags him back. They leave before full dark, returning to their vehicles, driving away. They do not succeed today. They might return. They might bring heavier tools next time. It does not matter in the same way anymore. The core is sealed behind layers designed to outlast human patience. I turn off the camera feed and sit in the quiet. Not because I am calm, because I need to conserve attention. Conserving attention is another kind of rationing. I walk the core corridor, check seals, listen for airflow changes, confirm the waste cycle is stable. Everything holds. The system will keep holding if I keep doing the work. That is the deal. I return to my room and place the external admin keys on the desk. They are pointless now. They are also proof that the world that built this place still believed in options. Options died outside. Options died when the dead man with the map wrote "one way in." Options died when I pressed accept. Before I sleep, I add one more page to my manual binder. I write it for myself, for the days when routine turns into numbness, and numbness turns into mistakes. This place keeps you alive. Do not romanticize it. Do not hate it. Work the systems. Stay human in small ways. Read. Exercise. Keep the lights clean. Keep the filters changed. Record what happened. I lie down and stare at the ceiling. The light is steady. The air is clean. The doors are sealed. Outside, the world can do whatever it wants. Inside, the rules are set. And I am the one who must live under them without pretending it is freedom. When I finally close my eyes, I do it with a simple understanding that does not comfort me, but keeps me steady. In this survival complex, every mistake is permanent because no one comes to reset the system. That means my job is not to be brave. My job is to be careful every day for the rest of my life.